I'm Britton LaRue, and this is Moon to Moon. Moon to Moon is a space to consider, celebrate, and share the ways we come home to ourselves, anchor through change, and uncover our power. 1 month, one phase, one loving step at a time. Oh my goodness, Moon to Moon, I just finished recording what you're about to hear, and I am just so energized. I had the best time. So this is the first of a celebration of honoring, of speeches of love for each of the 7 planets on their day of the week. It's so funny. I pulled from my deck the other day, like, which ones should I start with? And it like pulled a Saturn card, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I pulled a Venus card, and it was like, no, I don't want to do Friday. And then I just heard this voice inside of me, why are you asking your deck when you know very well you want to start with Mercury? Just do it. So cute. Yeah, we're starting with Mercury. We got to start with Mercury, y'all. Mercury is the patron of astrology. So I was visualizing that these would be about 30 minutes. And of course, the recording for this transmission, I was like, exactly 30 minutes. And so tomorrow I'll do Jupiter and onward through Tuesday when I'll complete with Mars. And yeah, it was it's so fun to be in Mercury's space. I just have so much fun. So I hope that you enjoy this. This isn't really like it's not like a teaching, although it is a teaching. What it feels like is like I'm inviting you in to how I feel about each of the planets, the 7. And I hope it supports you in your relationship with the 7. I hope it supports you with your learning with the 7, with your sense of the 7 in your heart, mind, spirit, and body. And I'm doing this as I just felt called to do it as part of the promo pathway for Emergence Astrology Year 1, knowing that, of course, this would also just live in Moon to Moon, part of the library for anyone listening anytime ever, whether you intend to come to Year 1 or not. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoy my transmission here with Mercury. And I hope that you will check out the info for astrology, Emergence Astrology Year 1, if you're feeling called. All right. Cheers. Enjoy. So I first met Mercury in my memory through the language of the astrologer Deborah Silverman, who has a psychology background. And she referred to Mercury as the observer. And she talked about it in terms of being able to get third-party perspective on your thought processes and the ways that your thoughts are determining your reality. So if you can get into this observer position with your thoughts, you can begin to alter your experience of your reality because you're changing the way you're thinking about your reality. And your reality is made of what you're thinking about it. It's so big. And this was like a real face melter for me because I had never heard this before. And so I started to practice being a diligent student, getting into an observer position with my thoughts. And when I'm feeling into it now, as I look back, the picture that I see is that previously, before having this information, things would happen and I would make my interpretations and my stories cohere. I would take the raw data of my life and scramble it together so that everything cohered with the stories I have about reality, with the stories that I have about myself, with the stories I have about how the world is, with the stories I have about who I have to be, what's possible, what's not possible. And so everything that was in the data, it's just raw data, everything of the raw data of my life was tapped, it was called into perform my stories about reality. And my stories about reality are very powerful to me, as they are for everyone. Especially, I have always considered myself like a wise person, So because I have an idea of myself as being so wise and so intelligent, which are not the same thing, and I see myself as both, probably more wise than intelligent, but I have a lot of both. I just presumed that whatever thoughts I have about my reality are true because I'm a wise, smart person. Right? I mean, why wouldn't I? So what was rattling about taking on this observer practice from Deborah Silverman is like, I just assumed that. Like, whoa, look at how I coupled that thing with that thing and made a whole story about that. That's interesting. It's not super easeful to begin to take on an observer position and a third party position with how your mind works, But I just stayed with it. And I found some interesting things with working with Mercury over these years, is that there's like there's a wide variation in terms of our understanding of Mercury between Mercury, the spirit of Mercury that we're engaging with in a kind of that side of astrology. Astrology has a this side and a that side. Like this side of astrology in terms of charts is doesn't feel nearly as interesting to me as that side. First of all, let me say that I don't know that I ever had someone say, I was really hoping that we could talk about my Mercury in this session. Like, never. Mercury is not actually a placement that many people see. I mean, you may know where your Mercury is, but there's a lot more desire to understand other placements, is what I have found. And I think that there's an aspect here to Mercury being sort of unseen, and Mercury having a different kind of function in astrology, chart and off chart, that is at the heart of it. It's at the heart of it. Astrology is the patron of astrology. So that is something to think about. When we think about Mercury being a planet that we associate with communication, negotiations, marketplaces, siblings, games, we think about Mercury as being connected to thieves and scientists. Like, what is going on that Mercury is associated with so many different kinds of things? What is this Mercury that it can be both the ruler of Gemini and Virgo? Mercury is a many-faced, many-armed, many-footed being. And this multiness and the slipperiness of getting to the answer of what Mercury is actually at the heart of it to me. There's a word that is often summoned to feel into Mercury's spirit, like the spirit of Mercury. And the spirit of it is that Mercury is a trickster. Tricksy. He's playing tricks on us. It's a game player. When I see Mercury in my mind's eye, Mercury's always giggling. It's funny. It's funny to poke holes at our reality. Mercury's excited to play along if we're interested in poking holes in our reality. Mercury's super bored by thinking on autopilot, and hence we don't really see Mercury when we're on autopilot, you know? Mercury is summoned by us and seen by us when we're interested in holding paradox, complexity, negotiating with different points of view. In fact, negotiating with warring points of view, with competing desires, competing perspectives. This is when Mercury is the one that we want to summon and call in. So if we're not interested in holding all of that, putting opposite things in each hand and figuring out what to do with that, we won't want to see Mercury, and Mercury won't be a being / teacher that is super supportive to us. So, and I'm realizing now I didn't finish what I was saying earlier about like the picture I had in my mind of Mercury. When I started to play with the observer, is I started to like see myself here in my body, like the sun in the center. And I saw how I would see reality like looking back at me, and I could only see it from my place. Mercury taught me in this picture of third-party perspective and observer, it's almost like I could see myself, you know, like in drawings of astral projection, or in movies where like part of you leaves your body and you can look at yourself. Like that's the picture of like the Mercury part of me was me like actually leaving my body and looking at myself and noticing different things about different points of view all at once. And so this is super, super helpful when we're in a moment in our lives where the reality construction that we have held to throughout our lives begins to show cracks, or we begin to question if there are other ways of looking at things. If we start to realize that our certainties are no longer that compelling. Am I really certain about that though? Or we realize trying to manipulate our stories, trying to manipulate or control or orchestrate or manage our reality so that they will continue to cohere around the stories that we've always had about reality. When that starts to be really exhausting or stops being inspiring to us or starts to be despairing even, what we can see is that cracks are appearing. Cracks are appearing in our reality coherence. And this is when Mercury comes to play. And this is a really powerful thing about Mercury, is that Mercury invites us to be very playful with life, be very playful with experience, be very playful with our stories. And we do this by being willing to crack holes in the heaviness and in the density of those stories. The picture I see with Mercury is Mercury will show us the picture, the reality picture that we have. If the reality picture is people like me don't get things like that. Fill in the blanks for yourself, right? We all have these things. Mercury, if you want to play, Mercury will be invisible to you if you don't want to play, right? But if you want to play, Mercury's okay, let me show you. It's it's upbeat personality, yeah, we're gonna have fun. Let's go play. Come on, let's go play. Okay, let me show you. And Mercury will show you your picture about reality and then be watch this, and Mercury will crack, I'm almost seeing it like an ice pick, the density or the hardness of the story. Mercury's watch this, and crack. And you start to see the rifts, you start to see the openings and the gaps, and it starts to break up. The story starts to break up, and it will have pockets of density and pockets of heaviness and pockets of burden and pockets of what we could call impossibility. But as long as you're up for playing with Mercury more, Mercury will help you more. Mercury will keep playing with you. You see it, you still want to play? You still want to play? Watch this. And Mercury will create shit that happens in your life for you to understand that truth is an illusion, and that illusion has truth. And it will start to scramble certainties so that you understand that you have way more choices than you thought you had. And that sense of being buried under your story, or being buried, stagnant, stuck inside of this is who I am, this is how the world is, I guess this just won't happen for someone like me. Those types of things just start to lift and unpack because you're willing to play and to create portals. This is what I was about to say. This is what astrology does. It is what astrology does, because Mercury is the patron of astrology. Astrology creates portals where you suddenly have a doorway where you did not have a doorway. You had a wall. It felt like a wall. And if you're willing to play, a doorway will appear. And that is incredible. Like that is, that's where I get the phrasing, would you rather be certain or would you rather be amazed? Because it's like, oh, you're so certain that's not possible? Okay. Like the mercurial answer is like, okay, I'll go find someone else to play with. It's not like, no, you gotta believe me. Go for uncertainty. It's the best. Like, no, the Mercury answer is like, onward. Like, I'm finding people who want to play. I'm interested in hanging out with the people who want to play. And maybe people will see how we're having this really good time over here playing. Maybe they'll want to come. Maybe I can entice them with like, it's really great. But like, the mercurial move is not to be dogmatic and not to be like, I have the answers. Here are the 5 hacks that will change this forever. It's like, really? Like Mercury's like, that's funny. That's funny that you think that. Sounds like you're pretty certain. It's like this incredibly empowering thing to work with Mercury, because you're always being taken for a ride. Like the whole point is that you're being taken for a ride. You don't know everything, you know? And this is what Mercury continues to gift to me in my life, so that Mercury is the one. Mercury is the one of the 7. The 7 being the traditional planets that we call the magician, because Mercury is magic. Mercury makes magic. Magic happens when you're willing to be amazed. Magic happens when you are willing to call in the willing suspension of disbelief. Like, I'm just going to set aside the part of me that doesn't believe that this is possible and just play. Like, we do this all the time. We humans are so capable of this. We do this when we go to movies, you know? We willingly set aside our disbelief and we just go for it. And it's so fun. And Mercury's like, come do this with your life. Mercury says, everything is a spell. That's a phrasing of Angela Mary Magic's. Everything is a spell, and everything will open another way to see your reality anew. Yeah, it's this idea of like, let's just see what happens, which is like, has a lot of agency in that kind of attitude. The capacity to see yourself as having choices is a very mercurial thing. And this is very strengthening. It helps us feel strong. It helps us feel brave, because it helps us trust that we can maneuver. Maneuver would be a mercurial word, because Mercury is fleet-footed. It moves between realms, move up and down with the underworld, going up to the gods, like back to earth. Mercury is a realm jumper and maneuverer. And being able to maneuver with your experience and maneuver with your reality helps you trust yourself and helps you know that you are so strong and you are so brave, because you're cultivating the capacity to roll with it. Rolling with it is like mercurial. You just like roll with it, or just adapt, shift, turn. Mercury rules the two of the mutable signs. The mutable signs are the adapting signs, the parts of us that adapt, that can shift with the circumstances as they are emerging in front of ourselves. So what this is an openness that Mercury gives us, this openness that's not saying, I'm just surrendering my power, like whatever, I guess I have no power. It's this openness that says, I am willing to dance with whatever comes up. I trust myself to maneuver with all situations, with that which is presented in front of me. And so this capacity to be open is the thing that opens the door to the miraculous, to these shifts that are like, this is a fucking miracle. Why is it a miracle? Because previously this felt impossible. Previously this felt this was like deeply unforeseen and not expected at all. Because expectation patterns are tied to certainty patterns. And Mercury is neither of those things. So this trickster capacity that astrology imparts upon us through the patron, which is Mercury, is this capacity to be open to magic in the field of possibilities that magic opens up for us. You know, magic doesn't happen because we make it happen. This is not about making things happen. It's about being open to possibilities and like being open to breaking up the stories for something to come through that will be marvelous. That will be like, what? I didn't think that this could happen. In order for life to feel like that, we have to be open, right? We have to be open for the miraculous to happen. And that's a scary thing for us humans, which is why Mercury is so very helpful at helping us to be in a place of wonder. You know, and wonder is something that is connected to playfulness, the play of Mercury. I continue to just be in marvel at what has happened to my life from letting Mercury in and just like getting deeper and deeper into this way of being, into the trickster life, we could say. And this is like courageous because it means being a person of evidence. It means being someone who's willing to trust in the unfolding of things, even if like they don't go the way we thought they would, or even if they don't go the way we want the things to do. And it means being willing to quit the old way of perceiving the datas of our life, of being able to be like, oh, looks like I'm trying to confirm a reality around that old story. Wait a second, let's get a little more playful. And Mercury is there for you to be like remembering how playful you are and remembering how binaries and certainties are actually deeply boring, right? Because if your life is playful, then you're gonna be resistant to what's boring, right? Like, those go hand in hand, right? Like, okay, so certainties and binaries just become like, it's not that complicated. It's just boring, you know? It's just like, wow, what I'm feeling right now is incredibly bored. I'm bored with this person's story. I'm bored with my old story. I'm bored with accepting that reality is like unchangeable. That's just boring. Right? Do you feel that? Like, I'm bored. Mercury, let's play. You know? That's the vibe. Mercury, let's play. So when we can do this, we take great leaps with our life. Because Mercury, again, is like, see these, they're winged sandals. Winged sandals. We are flittering around between things and around things. Oh, it looks like this didn't work. No problem. I'm going to shift, do this other thing. I'm going to take a leap. And coming back into playfulness. And this is so helpful when we have like deep, heavy ice chunks, icebergs around being imposters or being charlatans or being fake. When we're wanting to shift our reality, there's like heavy critique energy that feels like, whoa, that's a lot of energy around like, who do you think you are? And just like being so mean-spirited at like who do you think you are that you could really change? Who do you think you are that you could really do that? Who do you think you are that like reality could just change for you? You know? And this is like, when that stuff gets really loud, what Mercury says to me is that's the information that I'm in a chrysalis and the caterpillar cells are really fucking pissed off about dying. You know, they're like, "Rah!" You know, just like trying to get me to stop this process. And so it's like, oh, this is not a problem that you're here. You're here because, looks like, you know, this is one that really does need to be transformed. Like, oh, I'm in a chrysalis and I'm not, this is not a problem. I'm becoming the person who inhabits that way. And it's just going to feel impostery for a little while. And this is how you can become like a player in life, you know, like a player, right? We're playing as Mercury, playing at the thing. Before you can be anything, you have to be an imposter at it, Mercury says through Gemini. And so that's really important in these this reality busting play, this game, is being willing to trust in the possibility that there is something on the other side of this chrysalis. And it's going to look like more fun, you know? Because, like, why are we doing it if it's not to get to more fun? That's what we're doing, you know? But it's not super easeful when we're in the, like, poking holes at reality phases sometimes. Because what it can feel like for the ego is crisis. Like, absolute crisis that, like, I don't even know who I am if I don't believe that story anymore. Like, I don't even know how would I even function? How would I even like put something on my calendar if it's not coming from that story? Who even am I? And Mercury's like, exactly. Come on, let's go find out who you are next. Let's go find out who you are on the other side of like opening this door and breaking apart this huge, heavy story. It's super fun. It's super fun. Makes for great stories to tell other people, to tell yourself. It doesn't mean that the world doesn't still have hard things. You know? Mercury never says that. Mercury is neutral. Mercury swings benefic and malefic. Mercury is not taking sides with good, bad. Mercury, through this neutrality, is helping you navigate everything with a more playful spirit, with a more curious spirit, with the capacity to trust that even if it's hard, you can maneuver with this. And I just find that so magical, so joyful, so wonderful. Mercury has completely changed my life this way. Completely. And will continue to. I cannot believe the mind leaps and the reality shifts that have come into my life from being willing to play with Mercury, which is also the same thing as being willing to play with astrology. I'm feeling complete. Thank you. I hope that this was fun to receive. And let me know if anything opened up for you. Cheers. Thank you, Mercury.